Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from September 20th, 2024, and I'm recording this on March 19th, 2025. As always, those dates are so you know when this information is most relevant because the market is always moving and changing, and these numbers are always changing depending on what's being announced and what's going on in the market. So, also, as always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Each week they put out a list of 10 books that are moving in the market, that are jumping in sales, that are jumping in value, that people are chasing. And we look back 6 months later to see what factors made them hit the list back then, what's been affecting them since, how have they performed in the market since, would you have been better off being patient, would you have been better off diving in, and see if we can all make a little bit better decisions about what books we chase, what books we're patient on. We've been doing this now for 6 years, so hopefully we've learned something. I know I'm getting a little bit fewer views here lately on this, but so maybe people have learned something and they don't need it anymore, but we're going to keep doing it at least for a little bit longer. So let's dive in this week and see what we can learn. First up, we got Revival #1 from 2012. This book basically has hit the list multiple times over the years with option news and other stuff. And then it hit the list again in the fall, basically because of casting news related to the sci-fi series. Basically, they were supposedly working on casting, which is why it was hitting the list. Back then, it jumped back up to a $15 to $45 book raw. 9.8s were hitting 100. Now it's a $15 to $25 book raw. 9.8 is at 120, but that's just one sale. So we'll focus on the raw side, and it's kind of a steady I'll be back on the lower end of what it was before. Worth being patient on, worth coming back for, but still doing pretty well. Next, we have Witchblade #3, the Mark Silvestri 1 in 25. This book was going for $50 right out the gate when it was coming out. 125 going for 50, not a great sign. Usually ends up being a trap. That's what happened here. Now it's a $15 to $30 book, so averaging right at ratio, 9.8, 100. So down in a trap. No reason to chase this book because it actually is a reused cover from, so not even like a truly original thing. So definitely didn't make the list, wasn't worth jumping in on back then. Next, our other cover of the week was What If? Donald Duck became Wolverine #1. The second print, Scotty Young, 1 in 25. This one was also going for 50. So if we just, the general rule, if it's going for double ratio, not a book worth chasing. Well, now it's going for 75, but only one sale. Not a lot of these listed, only one sale. So technically we got to call this up because of that one sale, but this book appears to be kind of becoming a bit of a ghost. Not a lot of them out there, pretty hard to find. We'll see if that 75 is truly a sustainable value or not, but so far at least it is actually up. Next, we got some buzz stuff related to things going on in the comics, which is always nice. We had Astonishing Tales #25, first appearance of Deathlock, and this was hitting the list because the 50th anniversary of Deathlock one-shot was coming out. So they'd released a one-shot related to this character, caused it to hit the list. Back then, raw copies were going for $20 to $100. 9.8 hit 2,000. No recent sale of anything that high a grade. The highest grade thing in the last 3 months is a 9.0, went for 200. Raw sales 30 to 200, so steady, worth it. A little bit of a creep up in value in terms of on the raw side. Not a huge jump, but a little bit of a creep, a little bit of a shift. So we'll call it steady and worth it. A character I've never really gotten much into, but I know a lot of people do like. So still going for pretty good value right now. Next, we have Incredible Hulk #6. First appearance of Ghost Rider 1944, Sal Romero. Basically, this character was hitting the list because it was announced that we were getting a Hell Hunter series set in World War II that was and this character was going to be a part of it, so that's why it was hitting the list. $10 to $30 back then. 9.8, 71. Now it's 10 to 20. Call this a steady I'll be back, down I'll be back. It's definitely dropped. It's on the lower end. No reason to have chased it back then. Next, we have Spider-Woman #7. First team appearance of the Assembly, that they were introduced as the Assembly, but supposedly they're going to become the new Champions team, which may or may not have already happened. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. Anyway, back then, raw copies were 10 to 15, and 9.8, 55 to 70. And this is not the last time we will see this book, but now it's 5 to 15, 9.865, so steady and worth it. It's going right in the exact same value it was this first week it hit the list. So just above, cover price, double or so cover price on average, and a 9.8 going just above what you can actually get it slab for. So next, we have Ghost Rider number 19, first cover appearance of Phantasma. This is a character that's gonna be part of that new Champions team. I don't know why. Oh yeah, that's why I put it after the Spider-Woman. Raw copies back then for this book were going for 25 to 30. I don't believe she appears in this book. She's just on the cover. One of those. Now it's a $5 to $20 book. 9.8, 70 to 100. So down in the trap. No reason to have chased. Next, we have Detective Comics number 583, first appearance of the Ventriloquist and Scarface. Rumors it was going to be part of the Penguin Show, was not part of the Penguin Show, and yet back then it was going for $30 raw, 9.8, 160, and now it's a $10 to $80 book raw, 9.8 is 250 to 350. So this is up in straight cash. This is a book maybe people didn't really realize what it was. Maybe it was a little undervalued and has actually come up in value despite not really being part of the show. So next, we have Marvel Team Up, number 141. The Tide second appearance of the Black Suit. Hitting the list because Venom 3 was getting ready to come out. We were in the lead up. We'd gotten a trailer. We were closing in on the movie coming out. Back then, raw copies were going for 85. 9.8 going for 406. Now it's a $30 to $120 book raw, so probably pretty much the same as it was back then. 9.8s, have crept up. It's now a $400 to $625 book for 9.8. So at this stage, we say up and worth it on the 9.8 side. This is obviously a book that has a lot of interest. The Black Suit always sells well. All of these books related to the Black Suit always go for good money. And this one has continued just to kind of creep up over the last 6 months. Next, we have Venom number 3, first appearance of Null. This is the third print with his first cover appearance. This was on the list last week. It's made the list again. By this point, raw copies were going for 300, 9.8, 435. Now it's a $50 to $175 book raw, 9.8, 300. So that's a dumpster fire on the raw side. When we talked about it last week, it was only like 200, so hadn't really dropped that much. But yeah, when it started getting up, pushed toward $300 for raw copies and 9.8 over 4, was not able to sustain that. Still a good character, still a good book, but he didn't really make an impact in that movie. So, next, we got 4 MCU-related books to finish this out. We got New Avengers, number 33, first incursion, and basically this was hitting the list because Marvel copyrighted the term excursion. So, yeah, not sure really where people thought this was going, but people jumped on this book for $15 to $25, 9.8 for $110. Now it's a $5 to $30 book with the vast majority of sales, though, 5 to 15. But we'll call it steady and I'll be back. There's enough sales, 15 to 30 to it's still kind of in that range. No recent 9.8 sales here. Next, we have Daredevil number 270, first appearance of Blackheart. This was rumors on who Aubrey Plaza's character was in Agatha All Along, or whatever I forget now what the show was called, what the title of the show was. In the Agatha show, we found out later it was not this character, but caused this book to hit the list. $30 back there for raw copies, 9.8, 155. Now it's a $5 to $30 book, 9.8, 120 to 240. So steady and worth it on the 9.8 side. You could say maybe a little bit I'll be back on the raw side, but book didn't jump a lot in value, and so it hasn't really fallen back a lot either, despite this character not making an appearance. Next, we had 2 more books related to the Agatha show. We got Fantastic Four 186, first appearance of the Salem 7, which is the group of witches that were made up the show. This is kind of their first and maybe only appearance, or only one of a couple of appearances in the comics. 5 to 20 back then, but a 9.8 jumped all the way up to 450. Now it's a $5 to $15 book raw. 9.8, only one recent sale, but 330, so it's definitely taking a step down there. So down and I'll be back with most of the sales still being on the raw side. Only taking a slight step back. pretty good step back on that 9.8, but we'll see if there continues to be any kind of interest in these characters. Kind of doubt it. Next, we have Fantastic Four number 94, first appearance of Agatha Harkness. Back then, raw copies were going 40 to 100. 9.6 went for 1,200. Now it's a $5 to $25 book. No recent high-grade sales to really compare to, except for 9.0 for 250. Like the last 9.6 sale was actually up from that value 6 months ago, but it was literally during the show coming out. It was back in right at the beginning of November. So nothing to really compare to in terms of a high-grade sale, but so we'll call it steady, and I'll be back. You can definitely get some bargains on the low end of the raw sales, but some high-grade raw stuff still going for pretty good value. So that is this week's list. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope maybe you learned something, and we will catch you next time. Later.